Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review. And now, instead of reviewing, another horror film, but I decided to review, a cartoon that is supposed to be for during the time for Halloween, and it's another Scooby-Doo film, like the previous one a while back I did was on Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which that film I enjoyed, But I'm going to review a Scooby-Doo film that was made before that film. Released in the year 1988. And it's also one of my favorites. Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. Yes, like I said, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf was made in the year 1988. It was made for television, of course, And I remember seeing this. As a kid back in the day on Cartoon Network, I really did enjoy it, And in the reviews, now that I look on now, the reviews has been, like I would say, mixed to positive, Like on IMDb has a 6.8 on IMDb. Decent enough, but I thought it could be a little higher. However, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a little bit lower than that. Has no on the tomato monitor or whatever the critics give it, the films. Has nothing rated on that, but what the audience though votes on it gives it a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience voting. And I'm sorry, but I think that could be just a little bit more higher though. But well, it's just opinions though, But I really did enjoy it. I consider it one of my favorites in the Scooby-Doo film franchise, And into the story, there's no need for me to go on. Well, of course I'm going into the story, but I'm just gonna try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, every day, what's the time during also one thing before in this film, Scrappy Doo's in it, and then also looking up, it says this is the last appearance of Scrappy Doo until he comes on later in the theatrical release film in 2002, So 1988, last film appearance he's been in until the live action film in 2002. And one day I'll review the two films, the live action films. So I will do that sometime later. But let's get back to the story then. In Transylvania, all the monsters, like Frankenstein, Mummy, and all others, they gather at Dracula's castle, and every year they all have this a race, like sort of well, they call it a road race, so I'll say that. I'll say it's a road race, So all the monsters are gathered there, though, and Dracula, he's the leader of everybody, and he says that everyone's there, but all but one monster, the werewolf, and he gets a postcard saying the werewolf is now retired and he's living in Florida, and he's not going to be in the race. So he fears that they're going to have to cancel the year's race, though, until one of his assistants, named Wolfgang, he mentions that in this old book, that like every 500 years, 5 centuries, I think, yeah, it's 5 centuries. I won't forget. It's 500 years, a century, or is that 1,000? Forget, but whatever. So he says that 5 centuries. That every year when the moon is full, it'll be full for 3 nights, and they get to pick out a new a human will be chosen to become the next werewolf, and they'll be able to participate in the race. And of course, it's Shaggy. He's gonna be the next werewolf. So Dracula sends his two henchmen, which are little hunchback people, named Crunch and Brunch, Crunch is the one that's, you know, talks like this, blah, 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 you know, and Brunch is the more, like they say, the more intelligent one. So they are sent to get Shaggy and make him to a werewolf and bring him back to Transylvania. And in Shaggy, you know, he's also in a drive-in and racing, you know, and with his vehicle that has all these wacky things, you know, they like fly over, like jump over, or go underground, you know, drill underground and get ahead of everybody, you know. And also, Scooby-Doo's with him and Scrappy-Doo, and he has a girlfriend by the name of Googie, and they're racing, you know, and for the next three the first two nights, Brunch and Crunch, you know, they try to the first two nights they fail to succeed in making Shaggy to turn into a werewolf, you know, one night at his house and then at a grocery store. And then the opportunity finally came when on the last night, when Shaggy takes Googie to a drive-in. And, you know, Brunch pushes the button to let the top down, then boom, Shaggy becomes a werewolf. And of course he gets hiccups from drinking a soda too fast, and every time he hiccups, he either comes back to a human or werewolf over and over again, you know. And he's going up to the snack bar, you know, and he's getting the hiccups, you know, and he's like transforming in front of everybody, you know. They're getting scared. They call the police. They chase after him, you know. and then Scooby-Doo sees that Shaggy's a werewolf, you know, and gets in the car, and they drive away, you know, from the angry mob, whatever. And then the Hunch, what are they called? The Hunch Bunch gang, I think. Brunch and Crunch. They capture them and bring it back to Transylvania. And of course, there's also a lot of funny moments, like with Dracula. You know, he's been like the most funny, the funniest character, you know, on the show. Like he always ends up getting like beaten up, or you know, getting his butt kicked by lots of accidents or anything. You know, like as soon as they arrive at the castle, he's standing on the gate, and Crunch opens up the rooftop of the castle, but ends up pulling up the drawbridge. The drawbridge that he's standing on, he falls into you know. Or before that, or like a funny moment where he's like, you know, like in his bath form, you know, when he comes up to Brunch and Crunch, you know, like he's not here, and was like a new Beamster or anything, and he's like, he shows up and he's in his boxers, you know. And the character of this Dracula, I thought was just pretty funny. All those years, I always thought he was a very funny character in this film, especially the most comedic in this film. You know, I mean, over the years, I always loved this character of Dracula. He's just been so funny, you know. So then they see they all greeted by Dracula. Dracula greets them, you know, explains everything. You have to participate in this race, otherwise you'll never be a human again, you know. And then Shaggy eventually he'll agree to do it, you know, if he wants to be human again. So he agrees to do it, and he's not gonna be using his car. He's gonna be using the one they're using in the race. And Dracula makes a few adjustments, does everything he can to not make Shaggy lose the race. You know, he tries everything he can. You know, even with the Hunch Bunch gang, you know, he tries everything he can to make him. He's not like not making him get enough sleep, or tries to mess up the car. You know, make it all like all go all wacky. You know, but as soon as the race starts, you know, when the race gets underway, you know, Shaggy fixes the car up and continues on getting ahead of the races, you know, and Brunch and Crunch, you know, they try a lot of things to stop him, but it ends up backfiring, you know. And he keeps on winning, you know, keeps on getting ahead and winning, you know, think he's gonna win, but of course, Dracula does more things to try to stop him, you know, and like when attempts Crunch Bunch tried to attempt to stop him with like a big spider web, or try to go on the wrong, make him go the wrong way into this tar pit monster, you know. But of course, Googie and Scrappy are always there to assist them, you know, to help them get back in the race, you know, doing whatever they can, or doing whatever they can to help make Shaggy win the race, you know. Which they're using his car, you know, and of course I don't need to go much into this. Of course, you know, eventually his Dracula has like one last attempt to stop him. Really, it's this big, huge monster called Genghis Khan, and that fails, and he ends up winning the race, you know. And of course, Dracula's wife, you know, tells him there is this book to help him make him turn back into a human. Of course, they try to get that book away from him, but they eventually get, you know, and Dracula chases after them, you know, fails, you know. So back at home, Shaggy reads that spell, and he's back into his human form. And Dracula, he's been dropped in the ocean. He's been chased by a shark, you know, while Crunch and Bunch are on this boat doing whatever, you know. And then back at the house, you know, they're watching another scary movie, you know, and Scooby scares him with a werewolf mask, you know, laughing at them, you know. And Shaggy says, you know, hopefully that's the last of they see of them, you know. You know, hopefully the problems are over and that's the last we saw of them. But of course, Dracula, Brunch, and Crunch, they're at their window saying, all three of them together saying, "We're back," and then it ends there, you know. So yeah, I didn't need to go into too much this one. It's a very fun Scooby-Doo film that I've always enjoyed, you know, and over the years I've always enjoyed this one. It's always considered my favorite in the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video franchise, which all of them have been all the Scooby-Doo films except for the 2 live-action films has been given a theater release. So yeah, but of all the direct-to-DVD films, this one and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island are definitely on my top list of my favorite Scooby-Doo direct-to-video films, you know. And this film is on for 90 minutes, but it goes very, very fast, you know. It goes at a fast pace. It's not slow. It doesn't drag on, you know. The voice cast, Casey Kazam, you know, which now we really recently, over a while back, he's now passed away, you know. Most of the films and the TV shows, you know, the show What's New Scooby-Doo, you know. And most of the direct-to-video films, he's been voicing Shaggy for a long time, you know, and he's now recently, a while back, he's now passed, you know. Too bad, because he's always been a voice as a good Shaggy, you know. And of course now in other stuff, Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo films, he's now voices Shaggy now, you know. And Matthew Lillard, he does good voicing Shaggy, you know, in the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated and the newer direct-to-DVD videos, you know, films, and of course in the 2 live-action films, because I always Shaggy always played and voiced as a good Shaggy, you know. So that's one of the good things, though. But Casey Kazam, he always voiced as Shaggy. I always liked him, you know, and too bad he's no longer with us, you know. So yeah, that's my review for Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. If you still haven't seen it, go check it out. You'll find it. I think either you find it entertaining or not. But I think this mostly you'll find it entertaining, because who out there who likes Scooby-Doo, you know? I do. I've been Scooby-Doo for as long as I can remember. So yeah, so that's my review for Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. Definitely one of my favorites of the franchise. So thanks for watching. Take care, and trying to pause and see if there's anything else that I left out. No, I think I pretty much got about it. So yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Take care, and stay tuned on the next movie review. Later.